We'll shift gears here and move to weather. And the weather is today is a very summer-like. I guess that's the way we start. And today will be the hottest day likely of the week for most of us. Very warm and humid, but it is mid-July, so kind of things aren't unexpected, but we are definitely in a very summer-like pattern. For the last week, looking back. And in some contrast, we did have some Canadian air over the region for several days, and as a result of that, we actually have some cooler than normal temperature departures, and that's on the left-hand side here. You can see from near normal in the far southern part of the state and southwest to 2, 3 degrees below normal. And we haven't had many of those weeks this growing season, but last week was one of them. More interestingly, I think, and Brooks certainly alluded to this and talked about this, uh, highly variable precipitation across the state. So our totals for the week, this goes through the 23rd, by the way, and there was some rain here overnight as well. I'll look at that in just a moment. But you can see totals ranged from more than 2 inches. Some cases we had 4 inches of rain in the northern lower. That's been a very that area has been the wettest in the state here for the last 4 to 8 weeks. Also, some more significant rain in portions of upper Michigan as well. In contrast, the southern part of the state and the far eastern UP, many areas saw less than a quarter of an inch. And some areas were down almost to dry, less than a tenth of an inch. And one of the areas that we're really watching here closely over the last couple of weeks in the Southwest, which is an area that's been missed repeatedly. I guess, and we've talked about this theme before, the rainfall, especially in southern lower Michigan here over the last several weeks, has been very spotty. And some areas have picked up significant rains and actually above normal totals, but you don't have to go too far geographically, and the totals drop off. So there's a wide range, as Brooks said, a very wide range of soil moisture conditions in that part of the state, especially across the south. And as a result of this, again, our soil moisture, if we look at the rooting zone here for the top approximately 3 feet on the left-hand side, these are percentiles. The soil moisture current levels are actually it's a little dated. It's several days old, but the yellows and reds and browns here are all areas that are drier than normal for this time of the year. And remember, annually, as we look at our soil moisture situation, typically now we're seeing really rapid drop off during the season. We have our maximum water usage by especially our annual crops, and as a result of that, again, these are some of these are fairly dry. In contrast, northern lower, central upper, and other portions of the Upper Peninsula, the blues here indicate wetter than normal conditions. And our latest drought monitor on the right-hand side here reflects this pattern pretty well, where we have an existing area. It's actually a longer term area of dryness in the Saginaw Valley, and then spreading to the south and west. From there over to the Grand Rapids area, and then south down towards the Indiana border. That's the area that has been missed repeatedly here for some time, and we've had an increase in the area of abnormally dry conditions. So something we're watching, and again, this time of the year, we're really critical. We've got a lot of corn now pushing tassels and getting towards anthesis, which is its course most sensitive stage, and soybeans are right in there as well with the early pod fill. So we're going to need some water here to get over or get through those sensitive stages successfully. And in many areas that will happen. But again, it's that time of the year. We don't like to see shortages of moisture, but we do have some in the western part of the state. Degree day totals here for the season. This is a regional view. These are the 8650 cutoff. So what you've got on your seed corn bag for your rating here, and these assume a starting date of May 1. So, and fairly typical. But what you can see across Michigan, this is expressed in departure from normal here. We have of some deficits of degree days in the northern part of the state, especially the central upper portions of the northern lower. But as you go south from there, you can see the yellows and reds indicating surpluses. So we're a little ahead of normal. And if you translate this into calendar days with the degree days, we're fairly close to normal, but a few days behind, near to a few days behind in the far north, and then several days, maybe to a week ahead of normal in the far south. And cutting to some of the chase with our forecast, those surpluses are very, very likely to be there for the remainder of the season, given our outlook, which is warmer than normal. So I'll give you a little cheat there, but we'll look at details from the second. But on our weather map this morning, we have a frontal boundary just entering portions of upper Michigan here, and it's slow. And this has been a continuing theme for much of the last several weeks. This system's going to gradually make its way through, and it'll make it to the southern border, and then it's going to return and oscillate back to the north again. But we've seen that pattern, and as long as we've got that boundary here, we have at least a chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms. And one of the other themes that we've seen here recently, ridge of high pressure in the jet stream, that's kept heat and humidity, well, certainly heat conditions just to our south and west, and Michigan's been on the very, very edge of that. Well, today we're getting a visit from that heat from that ridge, but it's going to be somewhat temporary, and then shift ultimately in the next week or so. It's going to shift back to the west and south once again, like it had been earlier. But for our short term, this frontal boundary is the focus of really our forecast. And we've got this morning some showers and thunderstorms associated with that front, especially up over the upper peninsula. And we'll see those spread into the lower peninsula here as the day goes on, especially this afternoon and this evening. I mentioned some precip from this system overnight. That's on the upper right-hand corner here. You can see the greens here indicating at least a half an inch. So we've had some very, very significant rain once again in the northern part of the state. It has some made it into the northern lower, but not yet into southern lower Michigan. That again, that's going to come later tonight. And finally, it's important today because we are looking at high temperatures today with very, very well, low 90s probably, but our dew point temperatures, of course, which is a measure of the humidity, how much water vapor is in the air, and that's in the lower right-hand side here, are abnormally high, very, very high. In the red here is actually 75 Fahrenheit. That's really, really high for Michigan. It's something we would see on the Gulf Coast of the U.S., for example, but not typically in the upper Midwest, not in Michigan. But we have today widespread dew points in the 70s. So the combination of those 90-degree temperatures plus 70 plus dew points is going to push the heat index values today up towards 100, certainly in the south, maybe even a little bit above that. And as a result, the National Weather Service has a heat advisory for many areas in lower Michigan here today. But as I said, I think today will be the warmest of the upcoming week, but it's still going to be above normal. By tonight, the weather map shows that frontal boundary has pushed a little south. Note that it's no longer drawn here as a stationary front, but a cool front, so it's actually making some south and eastward progress. But that's when we'll see some of the peak shower and thunderstorm activity with this system. I would say here, in terms of the rainfall expected today, it's going to be like what we've seen before. It'll be very spotty. Some areas will pick up heavy rain, other areas will see much less. So, not looking for widespread uniform coverage with this particular system. Also important to note, given how warm and humid it is, some of the storms could be strong. If we do see strong thunderstorms, probably the primary threat will be high winds, maybe some, and again, localized heavy rain. But like we've seen, I would expect wide variability in the rainfall totals. Most areas that see rainfall with this system here later today and tonight, we're talking about a quarter to half an inch. But again, some spots will be much heavier than that. By tomorrow morning, the front slips south of the state, but we have a lingering chance for showers and thunderstorms across southern lower Michigan, while we'll see just basically warm. And it will be after that front goes through. It is a cool front. The air is not much cooler behind it. We'll still see high temperatures in the 80s, but the humidity, the dew point temperatures will be a little bit less than what they are today. So that's the major change. It's not, it says cold front on the map, but it's not a very, very strong one. And here by tomorrow night, note Now we have it drawn as a stationary front down through Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. That will begin to move northward once again on Saturday and give us another chance for rainfall on Saturday. So the southern half of lower Michigan here, we're looking basically at a daily chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms through at least Saturday, as it looks like right now. And here's Saturday morning where it does show that front returning north as a warm front. That's that warm, humid air. But again, we will not see much of a change in temperature. Highs generally in the mid and upper 80s. See 90 again for a high temperature, I think, by Monday of next week. On our low temperatures, generally in the 60s to near 70. So it's going to be very, very summer-like and several degrees above the long-term normals. For precip totals here for the week, quite a bit of blue color here and purple. And I think this is maybe aggressive in terms of the forecast. And so look at these as terms of potential precipitation. And those blues here indicate 1 to maybe 2 inches over large portions of lower Michigan. And again, I think that's the more the exception than the rule, and most totals will be less than that, probably on the order of half to 3/4 of an inch. So this is again, this is the potential here over the next week. Most of this precip will be over the next several days, especially across southern lower Michigan. But we will see another chance. Sunday right now looks dry and possibly Monday, but then scattered showers and thunderstorms possible once again the Tuesday, Wednesday type time frame of next week. So this active weather pattern that we've had for the last several weeks will continue. Water use and water demand with above normal temperatures will be also elevated. Not huge, but it's certainly above normal. Our weekly or our daily averages here for the upcoming week, 1600s to 2/10 of an inch. So especially in those areas that have been dry and already have dry soils, the water demand is going to be an issue for it. If you've got irrigation, of course, it's going to be necessary or needed, depending on the rainfall. So a little tricky. That's why they say irrigation in a humid climate like Michigan is a tricky thing. This is a perfect example of a week like that, where it is challenging. Again, we have areas that have had heavy rain, and then other areas very close by that have had little. So it's a challenge, but here at least it's the forecast. The guidance is saying that the demand for water from the atmosphere is going to be above what it typically is, and it is. It's where at peak in the annual cycle. This is when we see the largest potential evapotranspiration of the whole year. Now, going out further into the future here, finishing up with the medium range, lower left-hand side here, we look at the jet stream, the ridge that's bringing the current heat to much of the central and even the eastern part of the country is projected to move back to the west again. You can see that here out over the Rockies, and we get troughing over eastern North America. That very likely, in both the 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 day outlooks now are calling for this, calls for a break in the pattern. So we should see at least one Canadian air mass move into this. Right now, the timing of this, it looks like the first few days of August. So we'll get some cool air move into the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes region. And you can see here again on this one, the upper right, cooler than normal mean temperatures are forecast and also drier than normal. So cooler and drier. That's a scenario, a direction we haven't seen much at all this season. But both 6 to 10 day and 8 to 14 day outlooks now are consistent with that. And so we do see a little, at least a temporary break in the summer like very, very warm pattern that we've had. That said, we move now beyond that into our new long lead outlooks. These were issued late last week. August on the top here, mean temperatures on the upper left and precipitation on the right for August. You can see that they do still call for warmer than normal mean temperatures in August. And I think that's a take home here with the long leads. The seasonal outlook for August, September, October, so the late summer and the beginning of the fall, it also calls for warmer than normal temperatures, which is why I mentioned earlier those degree day surpluses that we have in many parts of the state, especially in the south, they're going to be with us for the remainder, the duration of the growing season. Note also here for both of these outlooks, no direction on precip. Michigan is in between areas of Forecast drier than normal conditions to our west and wetter than normal conditions to our south and east. And so I think the major message here for the long term still, even though we're looking at a break coming up probably in early August, is still towards warmer than normal for much of the rest of the season. And with that, I'll wrap up and just take a little extra time and caution here today with the temperatures, conditions we don't see that often in Michigan, but more summer than coming here for the next several days.